Yes, we're live. Excellent. Oh, what a day we've had. We're back. Okay, couple things. Obviously, if I have 4 people already in the chat, thank you for that. If you can leave a comment in the chat, that'd be fantastic, and kind of go from there. No? Are some of you in the chat? No, you don't have to be. No. Oh, goodness gracious. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. But anyway, we're back here. I don't know how long this is going to last for, and I don't know if any of you are planning on doing any more like super spreader events. You know, whatever. I don't care. But that's where we're at. Obviously, you just had a little project for me due. I got through most of them in terms of being graded. But obviously, if you didn't turn that in, it wasn't really a project; it was a major. But if you didn't turn that in, you need to get that into me. After today, I am going to be assigning a quick assignment in regards to transposition ciphers. We're going to be columnar ciphers and rail fence cipher. I'm going to give you a little assessment on that. We're going to get a little practice with that at the beginning of this class period. And then after we get that little bit of practice, I do want to introduce to you something called a Playfair cipher. Has anyone ever heard of a Playfair cipher? Have you ever seen National Treasure 2? Oh my gosh, how have you guys not watched it like every week? All right. No, in National Treasure 2, one of the first key puzzles in the entire movie is a Playfair cipher. I'm going to show you the clip. We'll get there. It's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. But we'll get there. Now, as I said, the first thing that I would like to do is to get a little practice with transposition ciphers in preparation for this assessment that I'm going to be giving you. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to assign the assessment on Google Classroom before I leave the building today. Last thing before we get started. Did I tell you about Wednesday? Cool. Just want to reiterate that, just in case you didn't hear it before. I will not be in school on Wednesday. I'm actually traveling to Rowan to go get the first dose of the vaccination. I'm not sick, just getting the vaccination. But it's at 10:45 in the morning, and it takes about an hour and change to get there. So I can't be in school that day. But even though I'm not going to be in school, there will still be something for you on Google Classroom that you need to get done. For those of you in the live stream, obviously I will not have a live stream on Wednesday, but there will still be something in the Google Classroom for you to check in with to count as being present. So I just want to be very clear about that. Wednesday, I won't be here. Bring your Chromebooks, make sure they're charged. You'll have something on Google Classroom. We'll knock that thing out. You'll all high five at a distance from each other. Did y'all hear that announcement this morning about, make sure you're all staying 6 feet away from each other? We got some cool things planned for the spring, including a dance. Isn't it going to be really awkward 6 feet away from each other? Being honest.
It's just not
It's really interesting. Back in the day, when I say back in the day, I'm talking about when I growing up in Barnegat. You guys know behind Town Hall where the recreation center is? Cool. They used to have regular once a month or once every couple of months dances. Do you know that? And kids would come out to them a lot. It'd be food and just have a good time because it was something to do. We didn't have much to do in this town. Kind of still don't, but Yeah, we rode our bikes and just hung out with each other and actually looked at each other. Oh man, no, we would. I remember because I grew up in Settlers. My dad and I used to walk all the time to the old library. You know where the VFW is in downtown Barnegat? That's where the old library used to be. So we did walk down there. My friends and I, we would ride our bikes to where the Walgreens is? They used to be a Cumberland Farms. You know what Cumberland Farms is? It's like a Wawa but terrible. Okay. That's in that plaza where the Cumberland Farms was. There was a video rental place. There was a Chinese food place. And that's where Vinny's Pizza originally was. You guys don't know your history. Although I don't either. I'm just telling you my history. Jerks. Anyway, The what? Will you? You won't be alive. I mean, I will be, but you won't. You know? Anyway. Oh, no. I'm going to make sure of it. I'll tell you a story before we get started. You know those like news articles that come out every now and then saying like, man, the world's oldest person just died. This is the new world's oldest person. You ever see those articles? Yeah. You know what I think every time I read them? One step closer. Anyway, if you do not already have them out, I'm going to need those notebooks out and open. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. I am going to make sure I'm going to be the oldest person alive. You better. I'm just reading the comments. Sorry, I'm just reading your comments right there. You guys are missing out not being in the live stream all the time. Anyway, last class, I posted, I believe, this PDF in your Google Classroom stream. So for those of you in the live stream, there is a PDF from, and I got to double check the date on this. Let me double check the date on this. I posted it on February 18th. Which was last class. Was I teaching from home last class? Oh, snap. That was fun. I like teaching from home better. Only because I have a better setup at home. Whatever. That's where we're at. So what I would like to do is I would just like to get a little bit of practice with a little bit of rail fence, but more specifically a little bit with columnar with the keyword, because I feel like we didn't spend enough time with the keyword. But also, I wanted to try number 11, but I don't know what the answer is to number 11. I don't. So I thought it'd just be fun to see if we can try to figure it out. I don't know. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open this up. I'm going to write I'm going to write down these letters. I'm going to write down these letters on my note page. I'm going to have you guys write them down as well. And we're going to mess around with them and see if we can't figure this out. So this is number 10. This is columnar practice. Let me go here. There we go. And then afterwards, we're going to get into a little bit of a Disney Plus clip. Columnar practice. They got my glasses. Today is the 22nd. The last time you guys were in my classroom, was that like the 5th? That is insane. That is so insane. Or like the 4th? I don't care. Anyway, just a reminder to those in the chat, if you haven't left a comment, please make sure that you do so. That would be phenomenal. Okay. Let me flip back here. And I'm going to write down the following letters. I'm going to write down L-O... I already messed up. L-A-O-A-E C-E-D-O-S E-E-O-H-N N-A-H-R-E F-E-S-S-V E-G E-G-A. I'll show you what I've written in a little bit just to confirm everything. S-C-J-M-S W-D P-S-D and O-T-I-A-S. There we go. That is what I have written down. Trying to write them very clearly in capital letters. That's an I right there. So they say it's a columnar cipher, which is great. And we know the keyword is Welshman, which I'll write down in a minute. But with columnar, usually you need to know how many columns or what size grid you typically have to make. I was trying to, I told you the story of Liston. giving me the false information that the cipher was a rail fence cipher when it clearly wasn't. And I spent like an hour on that thing. I know. It's insane. No, but it was one of those things. It was like a revelation where it's just like, well, clearly this can't be a rail fence cipher. So then it just dawned on me, what if it's a columnar cipher? And then everything kind of fell into place. Even though I didn't know any key words, I didn't know anything about it other than I knew there were 42 letters. And I figured out that, okay, 42 letters, maybe it's a 6x7. So I made a 6x7, boom, 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 knocked the whole thing out. That's what code breakers go through. You're given a code, you don't know the key or the algorithm, and you get to work. And you try everything at your disposal. See, when it comes to being an actual true code breaker, we've only just touched like the tip of the iceberg in regards to this. There's no way that you could learn everything there is to know about code breaking in one semester. This is kind of like an introductory course to the whole thing. Like, oh, this kind of thing exists. Yes, it does. If you want to go deeper, you can totally go deeper. It's fantastic. Anyway, back to this. So how many letters we got? Since they're in groups of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 45 letters? Yeah, there are 45 letters, right? Yeah. For sure. I mean, yeah, usually they put them in groups of 5 to make it easier to count, you know? But we have been given a key word here. And the key word that we have been given is Welshman. So let me write down this key word. The key is Welshman. Decrypt the following message that was encrypted with a columnar transposition with the keyword Welshman. Welchman. So because of that keyword of Welshman, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, it looks like they want to do 8. They want to do 8 columns, so to speak. All right, let's see what happens. Now, the wonderful thing, in my opinion, the wonderful thing about code breaking is just the simple fact that it's like, is this going to work? I don't know. I don't know if it'll work. Let's try it. And if it does happen to work, and you get that moment of like, it's working, it's like this light is just shining down on you. And you're like, yes, I just punched this problem in the face. It's a very violent sport. But let me create the little column down here. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. Now there were, we said 45, right? Yeah, 45 letters, but 8 doesn't go into 45. Huh. I wonder what will happen. How long should my columns be then? Because I know how many columns I have, but how many columns should there be? Interesting. Do a little quick calculation here. 45 divided by 8 gives me 5 and change. Gives me 5 and change. Okay. Maybe I have to go 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8. Let's see if this works. If this doesn't work, I honestly haven't tried it yet. So I have no idea if it's going to work. If it does, this is going to be amazing. If it doesn't, I'm going to blame all of you. So, in order to actually decipher this using the keyword of Welshman, it means that the letters should be written into the columns in a very specific order. Now, Welshman, typically, because it's Welshman, I'm going to put a 1 here for the A. 1, 2, 3, 4, a 2 here for the C. A 3 here for the E. Notice I'm just trying alphabetical order right here. Welshman. I'm going through the letters of Welshman. And A is the first letter, and C is technically second, and E is third, and trying to put it in alphabetical order. So what have I done so far? Those three. What's next? H? Yeah, H is 4. L is 5. M is 6. N is 7. And W is 8. Okay. So I'm going to begin writing in these letters. And let's see what happens. Now, there is a little bit of an issue with the number of letters. Like I said, there are 45 letters. Let's just see what happens. L-A-O-A-E-C. Notice I had to do that extra C because I put 6 in the column. E-D-O-S-E-E. Third column. O-H-N-N-A-H. Fourth column. R-E-F-E-S-S. Okay, fifth column. V-E-G-E-G-A. Something does seem to be happening. I wonder. Okay, sixth column. S-C-J-M-S. Okay, W-D-P-S-D. O-T-I-A-S. Now, clearly, this did not work. Clearly, it did not work in this case. Again, I wonder what the heck is going on with this thing. It did say it was a columnar cipher, correct? Yes. Back here with the keyword Welshman. Decrypt the following message with the columnar transposition of the keyword Welshman. All right. There's one more thing we can try. I'm debating whether or not it will actually work. Do you know what it is? Ooh. Do you remember when we did the tomato problem? Do you remember the details behind it? We did it twice. Now, here's the thing. I'm being completely honest. I have no idea whether or not this is going to work. No idea. Do you trust me? That's fine. I just think it's kind of fun. Because if it works, it's like, hey, I'm a genius. If it doesn't work, you're like, I guess we try something else. If it doesn't work, I'm going to leave it be. Because I don't want to spend all class on this. But I will figure it out. And say again? We'll see. See, the thing is, like, here's the difference, though. Here's the difference, though. Yes, you could totally Google this thing, right? You totally could. But what is more, what's the word? Not enlightening, but not efficient. Like, what is more impressive? Googling it or figuring it on your own? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Ah! So I'm gonna try this one more time. I'm gonna try this one more time with like we did with potato. Because with potato, we actually had to do this thing kind of twice in a sense, you know? Yes. So the way that it worked with the whole potato thing, if I go back over here, I'm going to zoom back in, is after we did it once, the new cipher is reading this left to right. The new cipher is reading this left to right. Now, I'm not going to write this out again because I already have it written out once, but the new cipher is already here. I'm just going to give this a shot and see what happens. So I'm going to create another columnar right here. There we go. What is our 6? And let's see what the heck happens. Now, since the keyword is Welshman, I am going to assume the numbers at the top also are the same here. Now, mind you, when I give you the assignment later today, if I give you a columnar, the process that I am going through is the process that I would encipher it with. So this is good practice regardless. But if it doesn't work, I'm going to be a little sad. I'm going to cry a little bit. But we'll figure it out. So I'd start with this first column here, and I'd go IOVERS, because those would be the first bunch of letters from the original one. LDAHED, third column. ECAPSN, PSN, then GOFJOS. Pretty sure those were those letters. Let me double check one letter here. Yeah, that definitely was an F. Good. JOS. Okay. JOS. N. I can already see this is already falling apart on me. That's okay. Let's see what happens. NESEMAD. Let's just finish it out and see what happens. AGESSEOHAESWCT. Huh. Yeah, that totally did not work at all. That's okay, though. That is okay, though. I wonder what that would have been. No, that wouldn't have worked either. I was wondering where to put the spaces in. Usually what's going to happen is this, and this is actually a good strategy for you to look for. How many letters did they give us in the beginning? 45. Now, this is a key important thing. And they said Welshman was the key word, which implied 8 letters, row, I should say, right? In that instance, 8 does not go into 45. One of a few things could happen. These blank spots, typically, if you are going to encrypt something, these blank spots, you could either leave them blank if you wanted to, or you could fill them in with filler letters. They could either be random letters, or they could be like X's and Q's and whatnot. That's neither here nor there. That's a pretty good practice for doing it. But the original ciphertext had no X's and Q's in them, so it didn't really seem like there were filler letters. But the fact that there were 45 letters and Welshman had 8 letters, that was the first indication of, oh, something's going wrong here. So, you can Google it if you want. You totally can. And I will not despise you for it. No, not right now. You totally can. I am probably going to spend my lunch break on this. I swear to you I am. It's going to be phenomenal. And it will not be any wasted time for me. Because, I don't know, I like puzzles. Some of you know me and some of you don't know me. Did you know that I am a Rubik's Cube guy? Some of you do, you know. Check this out. I'll show you one quick thing for your patience. No. This is not. Hold on 1 second.
Please excuse the interruption. Can the following students report to the main office? Val Amoro, Matthew Z, Scarlett Roberts, Emma Fortunato, Madison Rodriguez, Jess Holler, and Haley Rousso. Thank you.
What I'm holding is not a typical Rubik's Cube, okay? What I'm holding is not a typical Rubik's Cube. If this were a typical Rubik's Cube, I would already be done by now. Let's just put it that way, okay? I am very proficient when it comes to the Rubik's Cube. Unbelievably proficient. I am not the best in the world by any means. I am not, but I am better than most. When it comes to, let's say, the state of New Jersey, I'm probably one of the top 100 people in the state of New Jersey. Ms. Ray, what do you mean? Like, I've been to competitions, I've been to national championships and stuff. I know most of the best cubers in the country, in the state. You know, there was a Netflix show or Netflix documentary about Rubik's cubing. No, I wasn't, but I knew all the people who were. Like, personally, I knew all the people who were. It's a really great documentary. The what? Yeah. But when it comes to cryptology, there's a lesson in what I'm doing here. When it comes to cryptology, sometimes you get to the end and maybe it doesn't really make much sense. You're like, okay, cool. I mean, it looks kind of whatever, but sometimes you have to dig a little bit deeper in order to figure out what's on the inside. Which is a penny. Yeah, this is a Rubik's Cube that will only open up once you solve it. Isn't that messed up? Look at that. Anyway. Aguilar? Yeah, I can beat him. Yeah, easily. I'm so much better than him. I'm telling you right now, I'm better than everybody in this school. I'm pretty much better than. I've taught a few people who've gotten pretty fast. I've taught one kid who's gotten as pretty good as like 14-second average or 11-second average or something like that. You know, me personally, I average about 14 or 15. But anyway, back to this. I want to show you the Playfair before we run out of time. For those of you who have or have not seen National Treasure, National Treasure 2, I should say. You know, Disney Plus is actually going to be coming out with a a series about it. But here, check this out. I'm going to play this. I got to find the right spot. Someone hit the lights. Let me get to the right spot here. Stop. Leave what you need. Okay, good. So, what ends up happening with this, and I'm going to get back to this. This is the night of the Lincoln assassination, and these two guys come upon an ancestor of Benjamin Gates on the night that he is assassinated.
Are you Thomas Gates? Yes. We got something that we'd like you to take a look at. I hear you.
Now, right there. They have something that they want to show to Thomas Gates. And what they have is a series of letters. And they have this little box down here as well. Now, they don't know what to do with this series of letters. Now, it's a little hard to see in the live stream. I do apologize because there's a giant glare right there. I have those letters written down. I'm going to show you what those letters are in a little bit. But watch what he does with them.
You're quite good at puzzles and riddles. It's a coded message. It's a Playfair cipher.
Playfair cipher?
Can you decode it? A cipher is impossible to decode without the key. What do you mean by a key? Keyword or phrase. I believe what you need is right there.
Now, what's written there is a phrase called the debt that all men pay. The debt that all men pay.
Take some time. Go on. I'll take your diary. I'll meet up with you later.
And immediately he begins scribbling something down, which I'm going to share with you in a minute. Now, let me skip ahead. Now, if you see right here, he has a whole bunch of letters written down at the bottom, and he's circling certain letters.
Oh. See, there's a treasure map. Can't you see? You're not to the golden circle. You're a traitor. You're all traitors.
President Lincoln's been shot! Everybody out!
I'd much appreciate it if you'd finish deciphering that code now.
Dad!
The war is over. No!
No!
You're wrong about that. The war has only just begun.
So, with his dying breath, he tells his son, the debt that all men pay. That's all he says to him, the debt that all men pay, the debt that all men pay, and then he dies. So, National Treasure 1 happened, phenomenal. Then National Treasure 2 happens. And what happens is the Gates family are being accused of being accomplices in the assassination of President Lincoln. Because apparently the guy whose diary that was, not that guy, but the other guy who was with him, that was the guy who shot Lincoln, John Wilkes Booth. Now, in the Booth diary, they found this page and that this guy had. He tore it out, or he took it out of the fire. But they on this page was the name Thomas Gates, and they're like, "Oh, look, he's a co-conspirator." So Ben Gates, Nick Cage, who's phenomenal, decides to spend the movie trying to basically clear his great-great-grandfather's name by finding the treasure that they eventually find through this code. Because they don't know about the treasure just yet. Why did he burn the page? Why did he do that? Well, he did that because of, I wrote down the timestamp, 1453. Come on, here we go.
Bud's name still lives in infamy, and I will not let Thomas Gates' name be mine.
Here we go.
Ben,
What?
look at this. See that?
Well, that's quite something, isn't it? Yeah, it says smudge. It's nothing.
Residual ink from the facing page. Flip it. The letters are backwards. It's a cipher.
Yes, it
It's a
is.
cipher. See how the letters are coupled?
Uh-huh.
Playfair ciphers encode letters in pairs. This could prove his story.
Unless you decode the cipher, this does not prove your theory.
No, that's okay. That's okay. All we need is a 5-letter keyword.
What's the keyword?
I don't know yet.
All right.
Can I get a printout of this?
There's a billion.
Now, here's the thing. Playfair ciphers don't have to have 5-letter keywords. They don't have to. Typically, they can, but it doesn't have to be 5 letters. It could be, it has to be within a certain limit, of course, which I'm going to show you. But he believes it has to be a 5-letter keyword. But he needs the keyword in order to decipher it. Otherwise, he's kind of stuck right now. So I'm going to skip ahead a bit.
Got it. Why? We'll find out better.
So now he has this computer program which automatically decrypts those letters based on a keyword. But keep in mind, they don't have the full message. They only have this many letters. They weren't able to make out those letters. But you see this legend right here, which I'm going to show you how to use that. They fill in the letters in the legend according to the keyword, and then they follow a certain set of rules in order to decipher said letters. But the keyword up here, they don't know what the keyword is, so literally he's just trying random 5-letter words. Well, random 5-letter words that have to do with treasures and the Civil War and things of that nature, because they don't know exactly what it is. So he tries bacon, whatever. Skip.
Hold its head up. hours, and that's what we're going to.
Grandpa heard his father say, treasure map. Then there was a commotion. Okay.
I've got all that. Was there anything after that? Anything he said? Something he did? Anything at all?
Wait a minute.
What?
He took his son's hand. He looked him in the eye and he said, with his dying breath, the debt that all men pay.
The debt that all men pay.
The debt that Thomas paid.
Do you guys know what the debt that all men pay? It's death.
Well, that's 5 letters.
Try death. What?
It's the key code. The debt that all men pay is death.
All right. LABOUL lab that's gibberish.
Laboulet.
Laboulet. What is that?
It's a who, Edward Laboulet. Where's the phone?
All right. So hit the lights. Laboulet is actually the architect behind the Statue of Liberty. And if you remember from the movie, and again, if you watch that movie, you should literally go home and watch that movie today. You should. But I know, I'm just saying. But Laboulet, the reason why they need to know about Laboulet designed the Statue of Liberty. And the phrase was Laboulet lady. And there were actually 3 statues of liberty. I don't know if you know that. There are 3 statues of liberty that the French made, that Laboulet designed. One of them is our Statue of Liberty. I forget where one of them is, but one of them is in France, which was the only one that he referred to as his lady, which is why they have to go to France next to get the next clue. But I want to show you how a Playfair cipher typically works. So, here we go. There we go. So with a Playfair cipher, I'm going to write this into my notes here. Playfair cipher. Typically, there is a grid with 25 spaces. There is a grid with 25 spaces. For letters of the alphabet. But Mr. Markey, this is where you've already messed up. There are 26 letters in our alphabet. Yeah, I know. Which is why typically I and J are combined. Typically I and J are combined. That doesn't have to be the case. If you, as the sender, and someone else as the receiver wanted to change that little rule, that's up to you. But typically I and J are combined into the same space. A key word determines the grid. No repeat letters. No repeat letters. So for example, I'm going to use the keyword of death. Keeping with my wanting to be the oldest person in the world motif. Do you know what the human limit is for age? No. 120. No matter how many medical advances we make, no matter how many medicines we come out with, we just can't seem to get past the age of 120. There's reportedly one woman from France about 20 years ago who lived to 122, but now her age is being called into question. They think that maybe she was actually 90-something because they believe that when she was in her 30s, she actually assumed the identity of her mother for tax purposes. I know. I look into this stuff because I'm going to be the oldest person in the world. Anyway, So here's how I'm going to fill in this grid right here. I'm going to fill in this grid left to right using the keyword. Now, again, the keyword doesn't have to be 5 letters. But for simplicity's sake, we're going to use 5 letters. I'm going to put D, E, A, T, H. At the beginning of the movie, that's what Thomas Gates did. He filled in the word death at the beginning because he saw the debt that all men pay. Then, from there, you're going to fill in the rest of the alphabet alphabetically, not starting from H, but you would start with A. But we already have used A. Yes, since we've already used A, I'll go to B, and then C. But I've already used D and E. I've already used D and E. So, F, G, I've already used H. I, now technically I and J are being combined. So I would go to K. And then I'd go from there. L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S. I've already used T. U, V, W, X, Y, Z. That's how we're going to write that thing out. Phenomenal. Where are my key letters here? Now, let's try a simple phrase. I don't know. Let's try the phrase no worries. Quote, no worries. End quote. Now, this is our plain text, and we are going to attempt to encrypt it using a keyword of death. Death. No worries. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write out the letters of no worries in pairs. Now, there's a little trick to this. What's the next pair of letters supposed to be? You can't have double letters. So what you do is you fill it in with a placeholder. Typically, you can use an X. Probably easier to use an X. And then I continue. R-I-E-S. Zoom out a little. There we go. So you can't have double letters, just as a rule. So you have to space out those double letters. And then once it's eventually deciphered, your receiver is going to see that and be like, well, clearly that X is not supposed to be there. And then they'd go from there. Now, here's how it works. This is actually a really messed up thing. There are 3 cases that could happen. First, I'm going to look for the letters N and O. Notice how N and O are on the same row. They're on the same row. Now, if letters are on the same row, then you are going to change N and O by literally shifting to the right. And what I mean by shifting to the right is this. N and O would now become O and K because it would wrap around. I'll write that down a little bit. W and O, I'm just looking for, okay, R and X. R and X. You would change R and X. They're on the same column. You would change them by shifting down to X and A because it wraps around. That's what would happen if those letters were in the same row or the same column. So let me actually do that real quick. So N and O are on the same row. I'm going to shift over to the right. So it should become O and K. R and X are on the same column. So I'm going to shift them down to become X and A. R and I, E and S. The rest of them are not on the same row or the same column. They're not. So what we have to do is this. This is a really ingenious thing about the Playfair cipher. W and O do not exist on the same row or the same column. So don't draw this. Don't draw this. You need to imagine a rectangle being drawn around the letters W and O, with them being the corners. And then you are to swap horizontally in the correct order, WO. You are to swap W for Z and swap O for L. So let me actually write that down. I'm going to show you how to do this with the National Treasure Playfair Cipher in a little bit. But W becomes Z and O becomes L. Now, I said imagine that the rectangle was there because I need to imagine another rectangle. I need to imagine a rectangle around the letters R and I. R and I. Now, you can see there are a little bit of trouble going on here. Like, what if we had the letter J? Well, I already talked about I and J. Technically, they're interchangeable. Typically, I and J are the same thing. Ms. Marie, what if the pair was I and J? Well, if the pair was I and J, then you would have to separate them out with an X, because technically that would be a repeated letter. But there are little intricacies here and there. So what does R and I become? Yeah, it becomes U and F. Yeah. Here's the funny thing. When the guy originally came up with this system, the Playfair Cipher, he introduced it to a guy in the military. And the guy in the military is like, this is too confusing. No one's going to be able to know how to do this. And the guy's like, listen, I could teach elementary school kids how to do this within 15 minutes. And he could. He taught like a group of like 30 elementary school kids how to do this within 15 minutes, and they were able to decipher everything using this cipher. Or not everything, but things that were encoded using the cipher. E and S. E and S, again, you have to imagine a rectangle. E would become T, S would become Q. TQ. And that's what we got. That is our ciphertext. OK, ZL, XA, UF, TQ. What? Margie's room. Yes, she was. I haven't updated my attendance yet because I teach 1, 2, 3 straight through, but she was definitely on virtual. Okay, bye. Goodness gracious. Anyway. So, how do you decipher? You literally do it backwards. You take the letters in pairs. You look at the box based on the keyword. And then it's like, okay, well, what do I do with OK? Well, OK is right here. Now, if you remember, if they were on the same row, where did we shift in order to encipher it? To the right. How do we decipher it? Exactly. It's that straightforward. So OK, if you shifted it back, would become NO. Ah! So let's talk about the National Treasure Cipher. Now, they only had a partial, but people have written down the full cipher from the beginning of the movie. The full cipher from the beginning of the movie. Mind you, I'm using the same alphabet. There we go. I'm using the same alphabet. There it is. Good. So it's still death as the keyword, but here are the letters. MEIK QO TX CQ TE ZX CO MW Q, C, T, E, H, N, F, B, I, K, M, E, H, A, K, R, Q, C, U, N, G, I, K, M, A, V. Now, if you were a code breaker, you wouldn't typically get these split up in groups of 2. You would typically either get them split up in groups of 5 or just one long string. There are a lot of indicators. If you didn't know, if you did not know this was a Playfair cipher, you would actually have an indicator that this would be a possible mono alphabetic substitution. What up here would kind of give you the idea that this might be a mono alphabetic substitution? Repeated letters, yeah. What is it? QC definitely repeats. IK repeats. ME repeats. Like, yeah, it's like, what the heck, dude? In fact, it goes MEIK and then IKME. It's like, huh? It is? Is it? I don't know. Maybe it's polyalphabet. I don't know. But this is Playfair. This is Playfair. So, knowing this stuff and knowing the death alphabet thing right here, I'll kind of move this up a bit and have that death alphabet right there. We can figure out each letter pair. And this is what Thomas Gates did at the beginning of the movie, and this is what they eventually did with the computer within the first 15 minutes. ME, because he did this by hand, ME appears in a rectangle. It appears in a rectangle right here within that cipher alphabet. What do ME become? Other way around. It has to become LA in that order because M would become L, E would become A. So this is L, A. I'm going to write this underneath in red so you can see that a little bit better. Now I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to figure out the labale lady part. But then I'm going to leave the rest to you to do on your own for funsies. IK also appears in a rectangle. And again, you have to switch the corners horizontally. Is that BO? BO. QO, again, appear on a rectangle. You switch the corners horizontally. UL. Now, at this point, you'd be like, what the heck? What is la? Blah, 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 blah? If you didn't know anything about history, you wouldn't know who labale was. That's okay. TX. Oh, there's the X. And there's the T. TX would become AY. And CQ. Now, CQ appear on the same column. How do we decrypt? They're on the same column, though. Yeah. You go down to encrypt. You go up to decrypt. So CQ, if you go up, becomes EL. Now there's that word, labale. Labale. Now I'm going to finish out the first row here. TE. Oh, look at that. TE appears on the same row. How do we decrypt? Yes, we go to the left. So it's AD. Now, this is what they decrypted in National Treasure. They didn't know, I think they didn't have like one of these letter pairs up here. I can't remember which one it was, but they were able to figure out basically it was like labale lad. And then eventually they were like, in the scene, they call the blonde girl and she realized that it's labale lady because she also knows like American history or some junk. ZX going back becomes YW. YW. And there's the lady. Labale lady. Now the rest of this will actually give you the more information in regards to where the next clue is in the movie. So here's what I'm going to suggest to you. Because I know a couple of you were like, I don't know if you were joking or not, if you were really going to do this, if you're going to watch National Treasure 2 on Disney Plus. Y'all got Disney Plus? Good. I'm just saying. Decipher it first. Decipher this completely first, then watch the movie. You'll enjoy it better. Trust me, you will. Because you'll kind of know, like, oh, yeah, I knew that part next, because the whole, you'll see. I don't want to give anything away just yet. But this is what they did in the movie. It's like so fantastic. I'm so hyped because Disney Plus is going to do a National Treasure series, I think. And if it has Nicolas Cage, I'd watch Nicolas Cage do anything. Just saying. Nicolas Cage can do anything. Anyway, like I said, I am going to give you an assignment. It's going to be a homework assignment, mind you. Homework assignment, not a major, not a minor, a test assessment or some junk like that. But I want to give you a homework assignment on columnar ciphers and rail fence ciphers, things of that nature, just to get the practice with that. I meant to give this practice last week, but I wanted people to have an opportunity to finish their major assessment from the previous week. But yeah, give this a shot, then watch the movie. I mean, I'll enjoy it. It's really sad. At the end of National Treasure 2, they totally set up the possibility of National Treasure 3, and then they never did it. And I was very sad because those movies were great. Then after National Treasure 2, go back and watch National Treasure 1. I basically set up your whole night. Just watch those movies. Anyway, reminder, I will not be here on Wednesday. There will be something for you to do. And then we'll kind of go from there. Anyway, I'm a son off in the chat. I actually remembered when the class ended. Go me. Okay, no, I got a thumbs up. That's bad. Anyway, if you haven't left a comment in the chat, please make sure that you do so. I do see all of your wonderful comments right there. Thank you so much. And there's the bell. If you actually Google my name with the phrase